Okay, so we have to start with the obvious here. And the obvious is that Granddad is nasty. Who am I talking about? I'm speaking about Shannon Sharpe. Like I said, in case you're not familiar with him, he is first and foremost a literal grandfather. A young one, to be fair, but he's a grandfather. He is 56 years old, 56-year-old adult man with three children, with at least two different baby mamas. He's never been married. But he has sort of perpetually been in court dealing with various paternity suits and civil suits as it relates to the instability of his personal life, his personal relationships. Now, before his personal life took a front seat in the press, Shannon Sharpe was primarily known for what he did. He was an NFL all-time leader of receptions in the tight end position. I think his record has since been smashed, but he was drafted into the Hall of Fame in 2011. And that's what's earned him his current platform. He has a contract with ESPN as a sportscaster, as many of these people who leave the NFL do, right? They go either Fox Sports, ESPN Sports, and they provide commentary. Now, before we get further into his particular story here, I'm always very upfront with you guys about my biases. And I'm going to be honest with you, I do not like Shannon Sharpe. I do not think he's a good person. It's personal for me. Okay. Last year being the toughest year on my family in our entire life. And as soon as I got fired from the Daily Wire, there were certain people who I had done nothing to, who I had never spoken about, who were just like dancing on what they perceived was my grave and just spreading lies about me. And Shannon Sharpe was one of these people who basically came out on his podcast right away and just said the Black community should not welcome her back. Like, tried to paint me as this anti-Black person because I'm conservative and I ironically don't support movements like the Me Too movement. I don't know, because I'm not a feminist, whatever. And he lied to his audiences and pretended I was trying to pivot to Black media because I had recently been invited, before I was fired, I had done some segments. I was on the Breakfast Club with Charlamagne the God, and then Joe Budden invited me on his podcast, and that was it. That was it. But Shannon Sharpe did not miss an opportunity to essentially mock me when I was not in a great state. So here's what Shannon Sharpe had to say about me last year.
Sometimes, and it's happened before, people in our community forget that they're Black. And they try to appease a group of people that's probably never going to embrace them. And once they realize that, guess who's the first group to take them back?
I don't know her.
You know, I ain't say nobody's name, Amanda. You don't even know who I'm talking about.
I don't know.
How you know who I'm talking about? But we've seen this happen before. Rest his soul, O.J. Simpson. You know, he had the famous quote, "I'm O.J., I ain't Black." Even Michael Jackson went through what he went through, rest his soul.
Right.
Even Kanye had to be reminded. And now Miss Owens, who, I don't want no Black pilots, I don't want this, I don't want that. And now we can't keep off our Black media stations. When before she gave us her butt to kiss. Now, if I'm lying, if I'm speaking out of turn, people, y'all correct me. But y'all know I'm telling the truth. Now, you're talking about somebody that's always uplifted his community. And I was one of the first guys that had a viral moment with Cat Williams, and they couldn't wait. They couldn't wait to attack me. But Candace has given y'all her butt to kiss for 2 decades. And the moment, what they doing? They can't fire me, they can't fire me. The hell you say? Now look at them.
My conservative positions. But what transpired thereafter is he's kind of been in the public for the wrong reason. So in September of last year, he suffered a really rather embarrassing public moment. You guys probably remember it, where he accidentally went onto Instagram Live and broadcast himself in the middle of having some sexual relations with a woman. I kid you not. I don't know. He said he accidentally pressed the wrong button and the public was able to hear him with a woman. Here's just a couple of headlines about that. Forced to release a statement after ESPN star's Instagram shares a live sex tape. So that was not fun for him. And it really is stemming from that issue, at least that's his allegation, which the current issue arises. He's now in a very serious predicament because a young woman has come forward and she's alleging that she was raped and she was threatened by Shannon Sharpe during what she is describing as a quote unquote rocky consensual relationship. that term, a rocky consensual relationship. So her attorneys filed the lawsuit on Sunday in Nevada, and she listed herself, or attorneys listed her as Jane Doe. The lawsuit accuses Shannon Sharpe of using physical force on her and inflicting emotional distress on her. And I'll tell you what her story is, okay? Her story is that she was at the gym in Los Angeles back in 2023, pumping some iron. And lo and behold, here comes Shannon Sharpe. They met. Now, to be clear, she says she was just 20 years old, which I hate. I hate that a 56-year-old man is hitting on a 20-year-old at the gym. Again, not illegal, but yes, probably very immoral. I think we can all agree. Like going after young women who are younger than your daughters, it's pretty gross. He would have been 54 at the time. And from there on, the two of them start a relationship. A 2-year sexual relationship followed. Now, she's alleging that the rape element didn't occur until October of last year. And then again, so she got raped in October of 2024. And then again, allegedly this year in January. So obviously, for those of you that are following our Harvey series, that's immediately for me where I pause. Because what jumps out is the persistent question that I have in these circumstances, which is what would incentivize any young woman to go back and continue relations with an alleged rapist? Just, again, common sense. Not saying I have a degree in whatever degree you have supposed to have a degree in, but I am saying that sometimes it really just comes down to street smarts and common sense. Actually, most times it does. Anyways, the plaintiff is being represented by attorney Tony Busby. That name sounds familiar to you. He is involved in a lot of big named suits. He's made a name for himself. Most recently, Jay-Z came out and said this guy is a shakedown artist because he was essentially trying to loop Jay-Z in with the Diddy accusers. He's representing a litany of Diddy accusers, and he made an allegation that Jay-Z had done something to a 13-year-old. I never jumped on that. I looked into it, and it sounded to me like the case sounded fraudulent to me. I didn't buy it regarding Jay-Z. But he's been involved again in a lot of these cases. And one of the things that he has done is he's immediately released audio to the public of Shannon Sharpe threatening this young woman. So now she's 22, 23. And I'm going to allow you to take a listen. I'm going to allow you guys to be the judge and jury. And we're going to take a listen to the audio that Busby has decided to release. Take a listen.
Anything I say, you're just gonna get mad at, and you're just gonna hang up on me. So I feel like
I'm not gonna hang up on you. Here's what it is.
What? What does that even mean?
Nothing yet. You want to be a to me now, so.
I don't want to be. Don't manipulate me.
Oh, Lord have mercy. If you say that one more time, I'm gonna choke the out of you when I see you. Thank you.
Well, I don't want to be choked.
Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter.
So you hear that and you don't have any context and you're going, okay, well, he definitely did just threaten to choke her, said he was going to choke her and that she would have no say in the matter. And she says, I don't want to be choked, right? Case closed. Or is it closed? Now, here's what I know. I know that in a typical scenario, if we went onto a time machine and traveled back to yesteryear, we would be very accustomed to these male defendants issuing a very buttoned up statement via their lawyers, denying their fault, maintaining their innocence, but also then moving on to sort of maintain their silence in an effort to allow the courts, some statement like, we look forward to our day in court to work through the details, right? But that's not what Shannon Sharpe and his legal team has opted to do. Like I said, in the wake of Brian Friedman just dropping the messages on lawsuitinfo.com, it seems like now men are fighting fire or perceived fire with fire. And instead, he posted a statement onto his Instagram, which was drafted by his lawyers, and he included text messages from this young woman. And I'm going to show you what that statement reads. Now, I'm not going to read every text message just because it's quite graphic, but these are text messages that are coming, that I feel comfortable reading, that are coming from this young woman. It's a statement by lawyer Lanny J. Davis, and the text message reads, "I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it while you're bleeping." Okay. Okay, well, that immediately suddenly makes through the Romanian case regarding Andrew Tate. And when you get these out of context messages and you just go, this is awful and this is violent. But then you get another piece of the equation and now you have this woman saying, "I want you to choke me," allegedly. These are messages are being alleged by his lawyer. I would assume the lawyer is not trying to be disbarred and he has confirmed that these are true messages. We can pull that back up. I'll continue reading the statement. And then suddenly you're going, okay, what kind of a relationship was this? Because she's describing it as consensual. And then he just names her. He's like, this woman's name is Gabriela Zuniga. This is a text message from her to Shannon Sharpe on October 7th, 2023. And then she says to him in a different text message, which is from January of this year, quote, "I know you miss this big, juicy double AS." And she ends the message with $25,000 for each cheek. Very expensive cheeks. It's very expensive, very pricey. And then the lawyer continues in the statement. He writes, "This lawsuit filed by Gabriela Zuniga," again, just unmasking her. He's like, forget the Jane Doe stuff. It was filed by this young woman and orchestrated by her attorney, Tony Busby, is a blatant and cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe for millions of dollars. It is filled with lies, distortions, and misrepresentations, and it will not succeed. In her effort to extract a large financial settlement, Ms. Zuniga presented Mr. Sharpe with a secretly recorded video of a consensual sexual encounter. We believe the video has been heavily edited and taken entirely out of context, crafted to falsely portray a consensual act as non-consensual. Ms. Zuniga has refused to provide a copy of the full unedited version of the recording to Mr. Sharpe's legal team. To set the record straight, we are releasing several of Ms. Zuniga's own explicit text messages to Mr. Sharpe that clearly indicate the nature of their relationship was consensual and sexual in nature, and in many cases initiated by her with specific and graphic requests. Contrary to the allegations she makes in her lawsuit, consensual sex continued until January 2nd, 2025, the day after she asked for $25,000 per cheek, as quoted above from her text message to Mr. Sharpe. There are other examples of texts from Ms. Zuniga. For example, this one I am not comfortable reading, but basically she's asking for him to put a baby to impregnate her, I guess is the most proper way that I could say that. And it just gets increasingly more graphic about how she wants to have a black baby, his black baby, to be sure. And so they're sharing this, and it, like I said, this is why you have to wait for the full context of, and it doesn't make like Shannon Sharpe an amazing person. I think he's gross, and I do not understand these sorts of relationships where people are craving violence. But you can imagine if you are with a girl, and I'm not saying this is the circumstance, we'd have to read through everything in its entirety, and she's got these like rape-like violent turn-ons or kinks, and you guys are into this together, and then one day you're set up and she's recording everything and removing it from its context because she knows that the average member of the public is not going to read this as anything other than just violence. Well, then you have somebody who is indeed trying to con you and trying to extort you for money. We don't know, okay? What I can tell you is that in addition to this, Shannon himself posted a public video statement on X, so I'm going to allow you to listen to his response to her lawsuit.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup. coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carly, on OnlyFans. Gabby and Tony Busby want $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about. And I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys.
So here's my take. I think it is probably true that he was set up. I think it is probably true that this young woman wanted money. I think it's probably true that she intentionally engaged in this sort of, I don't even know what to call this kind of kink. Is it like bestiality? I don't know what people are into these days. Okay, I've aged out. I should really be referring to myself as a grandma. But I will also say this. These people put themselves into these scenarios, right? And again, over and over again, we are seeing Shannon Sharpe in these sorts of scenarios and continually having to make these sorts of statements so that he can ironically or unironically preserve his job and his reputation. How about just behaving well behind the scenes? How about not being a 56-year-old man that hits on people at the gym to avoid these sorts of circumstances? It's hard to feel bad for him, but of course, in the courtroom, it's not about who you feel bad for or whether or not you think he's a moral man. It is about whether or not you believe that Shannon Sharpe raped this young woman. And with what I've seen in terms of the text messages thus far, I do not believe that it is likely that this was a rape scenario. It does look like a shakedown to me. And that's difficult for me to say as someone who does not appreciate this man whatsoever.